What irritates you the most while gaming? Is the teammate poorly skilled? Are there too many bugs in the game? Are there too many hackers in this game?
Bruh.
Are the mechanics and NPCs annoying?
Yeah, just like that. Squeeze it nice and slow.
What the f am I playing, bro?
Is it just because the game is so bad? Whatever the reason, it remains outside our control. However, I bet you that there is one incredibly irritating aspect of gaming that we can better. Those are the game settings, which if not properly configured can have a significant impact on the gameplay experience. Welcome back to Stranger Games, and here are the settings you should turn off while playing the game. One, vibration and shaking effects. Vibration and shaking are interesting physical effects if used correctly. Many game developers include these two effects in their games because they believe they add realism to the game experience. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way. We're talking about screen shake and head bob. To make it easier to discern, screen shake or camera shake is a visual effect that allows the player's screen or camera angle to change to imitate a specific shaking in the game. This could occur when the character accelerates, when there is an explosion, or when the game's environment changes dramatically. They can make the game's movements more epic, more genuinely depict the character's emotions, and most importantly, make everything cooler. Meanwhile, head bob is an effect in which your screen resembles the swaying of the human body when moving on two legs, making the experience of walking or running more vivid and realistic. However, as previously said, screen shake and head bob are not always beneficial, particularly when used by game developers who care little about the real gamer experience. Screen shake may be fun, but in some multiplayer games it can become an impediment to competing against other players. The shaking impact of the screen after an explosion will disturb the image, decreasing your vision during combat, especially in games that need rapid reactions and keen observation skills. Furthermore, it can cause headaches and dizziness. Head bob, like screen shake, can produce dizziness due to uncontrolled shaking. In many games, particularly those of the indie horror genre, game developers enable that function whenever the character moves, without knowing whether it has a positive or negative effect, or without considering whether it is appropriate. As a result, in a gloomy virtual realm, you will feel increased headaches, dizziness, and nausea. So, one of the first things you should disable when gaming is head bob. As for screen shake, we'll have to see if it has a significant impact on the gaming experience. 2. Film grain and vignetting. This type of picture disturbance is common in older films and documentaries. It's called film grain. Film grain is not a special effect, it is a byproduct of the recording process for celluloid film rolls. Film grain gained popularity as a natural and beautiful aspect of the cinematography process. Some even use this effect in their films and games. If you know how to utilize it correctly, you may make the visuals in the game more poetic and cinematic and boost the visual quality significantly. Typically, Ghost of Tsushima's Special Future mode makes the game scene look just like a movie. However, not all games make effective use of the film grain effect, and more crucially, not all gamers are comfortable with microscopic dust particles appearing while gaming. In many circumstances, such as horror games, film grain just distracts and obstructs the player's vision, especially when coupled with the vignetting effect. The vignetting effect is a technique for reducing brightness and color saturation around the borders of an image. Simply described, it blurs or darkens the image's outer edges. This is also an undesired effect when filming and adjusting camera settings. However, because it was visually appealing, it was replicated for artistic purposes in photography. People used the vignetting effect to draw the viewer's attention and focus the photo, thus enhancing the beauty of the main subject. However, in many games, this effect just makes your screen harder to view. Scenes in the dark are considerably darker. 3. Chromatic aberration. This effect is frequently seen in ancient, low-quality cameras that cannot focus colors on a specific location. As a result, the hue smears along the object's boundaries. If your camera has this error, you can throw it away. However, video game developers seek to recreate this effect in many games. The reason is to make the visual look more artistic. The issue is that chromatic aberration is not a suitable fit for the game. It makes players feel as if their in-game visual experience is poor. Chromatic aberration smears the game's very exquisite lines, causing players to get easily distracted and lose attention. Some similar effects are similarly annoying. Lens flare, for example, will make vision dazzling when exposed to light, or eyeball grime makes you feel like there's dust on your screen. 4. Field of view. Field of view is our full observation angle in the game. Human eyesight is quite wide. When both eyes are used simultaneously, it can form a 180-degree viewing angle, including peripheral vision. Except for games on VR devices, today's first-person games find it difficult to recreate this human vision. The answer is fairly simple. Our screens have limits. However, having a wide vision like in real life is not required as long as players can observe properly in the game. To deliver the greatest possible environmental experience, game developers frequently align the player's default vision with the type of screen they are using. When playing console games on a TV screen, the distance between the eyes and the screen is small. The game's field of view is typically lowered to around 60 degrees. For PC games with screens close to the player's eye, the field of view is frequently expanded by 90 to 100 degrees. The ability to adjust the field of view is a useful tool for game developers looking to generate nice visual effects for gamers. Widening the range of vision can make high-speed movements look faster, such as in racing games. Conversely, reducing the field of view can be employed to generate a sense of focus in the player. Game developers frequently narrow the field of view to lower computer performance by reducing the number of items that must be displayed on the screen. When games are upgraded from the console version to the PC version, developers will either install a larger field of view in the PC version or allow the gamer to self-install to fit their preferences. However, in many cases, the restricted field of view remains the same when switching from the console version to the PC version. Many PC games also feature an excessively restricted field of view, which causes dizziness and headaches when played for an extended time. 5. Vsync. For me, this is one of the settings that should be disabled when gaming. Vsync stands for vertical synchronization. Simply put, it reduces visual blur caused by the game's varied FPS and screen frequency. Vsync primarily aids monitors that are unable to keep up with the CPU's image display capabilities. Vsync doesn't help to improve resolution, color, or lighting, and it is often damaging to your computer, so please switch it off as quickly as possible while playing games. 6. Depth of field, motion blur. Depth of field is an effect that focuses on the main subject while blurring the background. It is similar to the ability of the human eye every time you focus on observing something. The surrounding visual will be blurred. Depth of field is abused by game developers in video games, making players feel uncomfortable when they want to observe a distant object. Depth of field is only useful for game trailers. In most circumstances, it's extremely horrible. Furthermore, depth of field may affect your computer hardware. If you use this function, the game's FPS will drop by 3 to 15% compared to usual. Motion blur is worse than depth of field, and I consider it the most annoying setting to disable when gaming. Motion blur is a visual blur effect that occurs while the game camera moves. When you move abruptly, the scene around you blurs for a moment. Motion blur is acceptable when playing games with low FPS and is highly effective when used in racing games, particularly when accelerating. However, for games with high frame rates, it will be disastrous. You will quickly become dizzy while playing games with this effect. Motion blur, like depth of field, dramatically affects your FPS, which has a severe impact on the gaming experience. Those are the settings that I find the most annoying in video games. Which setting do you find most annoying? Please leave a comment and let me know. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Stranger Games channel to avoid missing any videos from us. Goodbye, and see you again.